In January, many people make New Year's resolutions. And if you're watching this video, chances are that one of them is to teach your child to read and write in your home languages. I don't know about you, but in the past, I have made countless New Year's resolutions that I probably stuck to for maybe a month or less. This was until I read Atomic Habits by James Clear. So let's see what he shares in his book and how this can apply to teaching your child to read and write in your home language. Hi everyone, this is Yoshito Darmanchimawari, founder of the Library for Multilinguals, and on this channel I share with you tips to help you teach your child to read and write in your home languages. So if this is something that interests you, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell. Various statistics show that only 1 out of 5 people stick long enough to their New Year's resolutions to achieve it. Through this video, I want to give you the tools to make sure that you're that one person. So let's get started. In his excellent book, Atomic Habits, the author James Clear divides habits into 4 components. The first one is the cue. This is what reminds us of doing something. The second component is the craving. It's the emotion you get when you think about doing the activity you want to be doing. It's the immediate reward, what you get from doing that activity. The third component is the response to the craving. So it's the habit itself. And an important point that James Clear is making in his book is that it has to be doable. If you want to run a 10K straight away in a month, but you're just breathless running after the bus when you're late, it's a bit out of reach. So make it doable so you can see that you're progressing slowly towards your goal. And the last one is the reward. So the reward is the satisfaction you get, and this strong positive emotion is what's going to help you carry on your habit. So doing this again and again. And one important point I want to make is that this immediate positive feeling is what's going to lead you to either good or bad habits. The other crucial point I want to make is that to form a habit, the physical or mental efforts the habit demands doesn't outweigh the rewards. So the feeling of satisfaction should be stronger than the effort you're putting. You should be thinking, okay, I don't mind putting that much effort if it brings me that much in return. So now that we've detailed the different components, let's see how we can form habits that will help you teach your child to read and write in your home languages. So first of all, it's important to keep in mind one important thing. In this habit of teaching your child to read and write, you're 2. So both of you need to be feeling the satisfaction of doing this habit or this activity so it becomes a habit. And the effort you're putting shouldn't outweigh the satisfaction you get. Otherwise, if it's too difficult for one of you, the habit will be very difficult to keep going. So now let's illustrate each component, each point, using 2 habits that you might want to establish or that you're already trying to establish to help your child with literacy. And these 2 habits are bedtime stories and explicit literacy work in your home languages. So let's start with the cue. This needs to be part of your daily or weekly routine. It must be something that's already established. So when it happens, because it will happen because it's in your routine, you remember to do the activity, to do this thing that you want to become a habit. Let's start with bedtime stories. So the cue could be your bedtime routine, basically. So, for example, your child goes and brush their teeth, they put their pajamas on, and after that you just insert this new habit of reading a book together. And this is a habit you can do daily. For the craving, if you're trying to establish this routine or re-establishing it because you fell out of it, make sure that you keep in mind that the experience needs to be enjoyable. The positive feeling you and your child get from the experience is the key to form this habit. So it is important that it is felt like a bonding time, a time that's just for you and your child. It will be appreciated by your child and by you as well. Also, one important point, make sure you do not make your language compulsory. Being able to understand and read different languages should be felt like as enabling your child to access more fun and exciting stories. It shouldn't be something that's restricting your child into certain books. Of course, if you feel that you have to have some rules to make sure you have some books in your language from time to time at least, just do it. But again, what I want to insist on is that you don't make the rule about your language. It can be, for example, that you all take turns, you and your children, to read a book. So, for example, your child might be choosing a book in the school language one day, but on the following day, you choose a book in your home language. And it's not because it's in your home language, just because you like that story and you want to read it. And if you don't want to have any strict rule, you can just say, oh, I love that story. Should we read this tonight? And chances are that if your child doesn't really mind any book they want to read on that night, they're going to say yes. Now, the response to your craving, so the habit. So choose a book that your child enjoys in any language, as mentioned just before. And keep in mind that when you have this habit, you have this bedtime story routine, you can also work on literacy during that time. It doesn't need to be just reading the book. So, for example, you can point at where you're reading on the page, so your child follows and sees the words you're reading, gets familiar with them. And you can, of course, ask them to read some words and sentences. But it needs to be an activity that builds your child's confidence. So don't ask them to read too much, otherwise it's going to be too tiring or too difficult at the end of the day, and they won't want to read anymore. So the effort needs to be manageable. You can also ask questions regarding various aspects of the story to just check that your child understands. It can be a moment as well where you can teach them new words or expressions. And one thing that's going to be very difficult for any reader is to understand the implicit of a story. So what's not said, but that you can work out from different clues in the text. And this is a skill that you can transfer from language to language. So if you work on this with your child, this will help them with their schoolwork. And in school, if they work on certain texts, that's going to reinforce their ability to be able to understand the implicit of text in your home language as well. Now, the reward. You and your child will certainly enjoy the time that you spend together. As parents, we often have loads to do and loads on our mind. And it's sometimes difficult to spend some time with our children, quality time that they appreciate and we appreciate. So this bedtime story routine can be this sacred moment where you're just you and your child, and you enjoy being together. It's a bonding time. Your child will appreciate it and you will as well. Reading with or to your child has many benefits, but talking about it in this video will make the video too long, so I'm going to leave it. But feel free to comment below on any benefits you see in reading with or to your child. Now, let's go to the other routine I was talking about, the more explicit literacy work. So for a child to learn to read and decipher and understand how the graphemes are written, demands explicit teaching. Depending on how much time you and your child have to prepare and do the activities, this habit can be just on a weekly basis. You can do it once or twice a week. That's enough. It just needs to be regularly so that your child expects the activity to happen at a certain time. So if you want, for example, to work on literacy on a Saturday morning, don't just decide it's going to be a Saturday morning. Have a precise cue. And it can be breakfast. So you know that straight after breakfast, you're going to be playing or doing activities related to literacy in your home language. Now, let's talk about the craving. So your child needs to be waiting impatiently for these activities. And once you have done this a few times, the memory of the positive feelings they get is going to help them want to do the activity. So it needs to be enjoyable for your child. But on top of relying on the memory your child has about the previous activities, you can create anticipation. So for example, you can have a special box with a nice red bow on top of it that you use just to keep the material you're going to be using to work on literacy. And you leave that on the desk or somewhere where your child can see while they're having breakfast, so that they know they're going to be having fun playing all these activities. You can also use a mini whiteboard and write clues about the type of activities you're going to do today. Or it can simply be the name of the activity or a simple sentence. Just adapt the length and the complexity of the text you're going to give to your child to read to their level. But whatever it is, it has to be visible for your child while they're having breakfast. This is going to create the anticipation. So now let's talk about the response to a craving, the habit itself. So as you know, I love teaching through games because I find them perfect. For your child, it's a fun moment, and for you, you know that learning is happening while they're playing. So both of you are happy. But it is important to make the physical and mental effort required by your child to be worth the pleasure that they will get out of it. So for you, for example, it might mean that the effort you're going to put to prepare the activities is worth it. If you feel like you're putting too much effort creating all these resources and that your child just plays with it like 20 minutes and you don't play again with it, it's going to be quite unbalanced. So you won't want to do that again and again, and you'll be dreading the moment where you have to prepare these activities. So either decide to spend a lot of time on preparing material if you know you're going to be reusing them in various ways, or just find on the internet resources that are already ready to be used. So you have, for example, on my website, I'm going to put the link below, resources pack in several languages. But there are loads of creators on the internet that prepare worksheets and games, etc. in different languages. So I'll let you search for them. In the description, I'm going to leave a few links for you to find some games to play with your child. And of course, you know that I have written The Parent's Guide to Raising Multiliterate Children. And in this book, you find 70 plus activities and games to work on literacy. So I'll let you check that out. The affiliate link is in the description below. So the aim is to make the activities and games your child plays fun enough so that they don't mind putting a little effort required to work on literacy, but that's going to be making the game happen, so the fun to take place, and they won't mind it. And if they enjoy the games enough, they're going to be asking you every week or every time you're supposed to be playing what game you're going to be playing on that day. So this will help the habit to be established. So to finish, I would like to add a few more points that should help you establish this new habit. So the first one is to be patient. You probably heard it a lot, but it's really important. So if you don't remember yourself when you're learning to read and write, you probably remember your driving instructor telling you to check the mirrors. Or if that's too far back as well, you just think back of a moment where you had a teacher explaining you something, teaching you something, and they had to repeat the same things. You probably realize, oh my God, the teacher already said that. Oh, they said that like 10 times, but I didn't remember. One key tip I can give you is to have a set example or a set way you explain something that you repeat in the same way. This is going to be first reminding your child about the rule or whatever you're trying to teach them, but also it will act like a cue. So they remember, oh yeah, mom or dad has said that already. And the fact that they realize that they have been told already several times the same thing is going to help, on top of the repetition, to memorize or to remember this rule. However, make sure you say it in a nice way. Don't feel or don't sound irritated or frustrated to be repeating the same thing over and over again. Remember, it's normal. We don't learn just by hearing something once. The second thing is that learning is a roller coaster. It's never like a straight line. It might start really well because, for example, your child starts from zero and they start being able to decipher a few words, and you feel like, and they feel as well, that the improvement goes really quickly, but then they plateau at some point, and that might be discouraging. So at that point, you have to encourage them, have more fun games, and then they will start progressing again. They'll be happy, but it won't be a straight line. And keep in mind as well that they might also do mistakes that they were not doing before, just because they have learned a new rule and are trying to apply it, but to the wrong context. So that makes them make mistakes they haven't been doing before. But this is a sign of learning taking place. It doesn't mean they're going back. And their motivations will fluctuate as well. Not just because of you, but it might be external factors that makes them less motivated on some days, more motivated on others. Just go along with it. And sometimes you certainly prepare activities thinking it's going to be a big hit, they're going to love it. But they just merely like it, or even say that it's boring or whatever. Don't take it personally. It will happen, but just carry on preparing all the lessons. And maybe if you present it later on, they'll enjoy it. A third tip I can give you is to make yourself accountable. So for that, you have different ways to do it. You can, for example, decide with someone that you're going to start teaching your children to read and write, and keep each other informed. So, or make sure that you're doing the activities or following up with the habits you're trying to establish. You can also put yourself out there and put it on social media and declare that you're going to be teaching your child to read and write in your home language. And every week or every time you do these activities, you post. So it can be a weekly summary about the challenges you've had, the obstacles you had to overcome, and the progress and breakthrough as well. But just make sure you keep the habit of posting about it regularly. And if you're a more private person, keep a journal. There are loads of ways to make yourself accountable. The main thing is to have time that you dedicate to reflect back on what you're doing, the progress your child is making, the obstacles you're facing, and reflecting back on that is going to help you see things better, more clearly, with less emotions involved or deceptions, or even be too happy. You can analyze what went well and think, okay, I'm going to try to with another activity, or I'm going to repeat that again so it works better. And the fourth and last tip I'm going to give you is to make sure you ask for help when needed. There are loads of ways to get help. You can, of course, just search the internet and find blogs or YouTube channels like mine, or reach out to your accountability buddy if you have one, or put it on social media if you're putting things on social media, and ask for help and say, I'm stuck with this. Does anyone know how I can go around it? Do you have any idea? And feel free to tag me in any of your posts. I'll be happy to help. There are so many Facebook groups on the internet where you can find other parents going through the same journey as you. I'm going to name a few in the description below. So I hope all these tips were helpful, and that in 2022 you'll be starting on your journey to teach your child to read and write in your home languages. So if you like this video, make sure to like it and to share with people who might need it. And of course, if you want to have more ideas on how you can help your child to learn to read and write in your home languages, make sure to subscribe to your channel and ring the bell icon. Bye everyone!